We live in quite a shaky country, definitely in quite a shaky city. Post the 2016 Kaikoura earthquake, it took a number of days, a couple of weeks in fact, before we actually had an idea of the type of buildings which needed to be inspected as kind of a matter of importance.
The Unreinforced Masonry program, those are buildings where they were given 1 year to actually strengthen the most vulnerable parts of their building. So that is the fronts of buildings that may fall into the street to hurt people or vehicles. The trigger is the notice, but the overall result can end up being a far more resilient building, because you're not just strengthening to the minimum, you might be strengthening to 67 or 100% because the market is demanding it. You know, we've got government agencies that are wanting at least 80% MBS for their tenants, banks and bigger corporations that have minimum requirements, which is pushing higher resilience in terms of the way building owners are choosing to strengthen their buildings.
Aspiration for it.
The building we're in at the moment, Central Library, that was the proof of concept for getting what's called Wellington City Models. The idea is that ultimately we'll work with building owners across the city to put in up to 400 buildings worth of accelerometers. Having the accelerometers in the buildings shows us how individual buildings have performed. If we've got a range of different building types represented in there, we can start to say, we know buildings of this particular steel frame type with floors between 9 and 14 stories, we know they've actually moved greater than they should have done. So we need to get those inspected. Having the accelerometers out there makes that really quick for us to do. The overall impact of it long term would be that we'd have an idea if we need to actually declare emergencies in the city, whether buildings are actually at risk, whether areas need to be closed, whether buildings even need to come down, that it makes really rapid decisions, and that's we're not waiting weeks and weeks and weeks before we actually know where we stand, and we can then make a decision on whether Wellington can continue business as usual. It means that we can make those decisions very quickly. Having this information is not going to be a cure-all, but it's going to make us be able to be a lot smarter in how we approach things and a lot quicker. One of the frustrations a lot of business owners had and building owners was that they weren't sure if it was okay to go back in their buildings for quite a long time. If there's a lot of uncertainty around an area, we may find that building developers even don't want to develop in these areas. People may not want to move into them if they know they're going to be affected. Giving people the assurances that whilst they may be affected, we're actually going to be able to let them know the status quickly. They'll be able to claim on their insurance. They'll just have the information they need to go on rather than a large period of uncertainty. Is really powerful. I think a lot of the actual frustration people would get is not knowing which way to go.
If you're resilient to an earthquake, then you'll be resilient to storms and natural disasters and stresses as well. So there's a bunch of co-benefits that come out of this stuff. Whilst on the surface it's about earthquakes, it's not just about earthquakes, it's about a whole bunch of other shocks and stresses at the same time.